Hey, welcome to my presentation of my icon of cool. Today I will be talking about fashion designer and the founder of Maison Margiela, Martin Margiela. So let's get to it. So born on the 9th of April in 1957 in Genk, Belgium, Martin Margiela is a fashion designer, an artist, and the founder of French luxury fashion house Maison Margiela. Um, Throughout his career, he was known as the Invisible Man because he was known to reject photos and face-to-face interviews despite the popularity of his fashion brand that he has created. So, growing up, Margiela had little to no exposure to the fashion scene as the world had not been introduced to influential Belgian designers that we see today, such as the Antwerp Six and Raf Simons. Um, but according to multiple sources, Margiela's first real exposure to fashion was a segment that he saw on TV about Paco Rabanne and Andre Koresh, two also very influential European designers. And Martin would then enroll into to Antwerp's Royal Academy of Fine Arts, and it was there that he learned more about fashion design. So after graduating from the Royal Academy of Fine Arts in 1979, Martin Margiela began working as a freelance designer, and he would do so for the next 5 years, and he would later become a full-time assistant for Jean-Paul Gaultier in 1984 in Paris. In 1987, Martin would leave that job in order to start his own brand, Maison Martin Margiela, otherwise known as today as Maison Margiela. Upon the first collection of his new fashion brand, critics were taken by just how radical he was, considering that he was such a private individual. It was safe to say that he left quite the impression during his first runway show in 1989. At the time, fashion designers and houses that were showcased during the Paris Fashion Week uh, were associated with sort of like this. They were associated with luxury and elegance, and Margiela had a different approach with his designs and presentation, which were, like I said, radical and associated with sort of like the avant-garde at the time. He chose to showcase his debut collection at the Café de la Guerre, which is which is a cafe that doubled as a theater. Um, a bold move at the time, as most fashion houses did so in these elegant and luxury tents outside the Louvre. Um, but yeah, Margiela broke the norm and this preconceived notion of that fashion houses during the Paris Fashion Week must showcase their designs in these sort of like big venues and stuff, which this would yeah, which inspired designers to do the same, such as a couple years ago we saw Red Monks showcase their uh fall and winter 2020 collection in a McDonald's, and more recently, a couple months ago, Balenciaga took over the New York Stock Exchange for its spring and summer 2023 collection. Um, Margiela's work was often driven by concept, and he pioneered a lot of the aesthetics and that we see and are duplicated by designers to this day, such as oversized silhouettes, deconstruction, upcycling vintage and archival pieces. And in his first show, Margiela dressed his models in masks in order to steer away the attention of the audience from the model's appearance and the model's looks, and instead focus on the garments, as seen in the first picture on the slide from the left. And next to that picture is a model dressed in a dress form jacket with what looks to be an unfinished coat or an unfinished dress draped onto half of the dress form. This is a reflection of Margiela's idea of combining and showcasing the process of making a piece of garment um, along with the actual garment itself. Uh, what I think is more important about this look, however, is it is an attempt to sort of unite the subject, being the model, with the object, and that being the garment, of course. And in garment production, the dress form or the mannequin serves as the basis of how a garment is made, how it is fitted. Um, However, yeah, the dress form is most of the time it's made to sort of augment the human body to standards that are just simply not realistic. Therefore, garments that are made according to the dress form itself dominates the wearer, and the subject, being the wearer, of course, is often, often sort of like trapped by the object. And this, I think, makes the dress form sort of like a symbol of body oppression in a way. And in this collection, the Fall Winter 1997 collection, Margiela attempted to address the problem by uniting the dress form with the bodies. So sort of like making the body becomes the dress form in a way. He also broke that symbol that I mentioned earlier by tearing the dress form in half and placing it onto the models. Another signature Margiela move is making clothing out of objects that are not intended to be used as clothing or as garments, such as the top made from leather gloves, which we can see on the third picture from the left, as well as the duvet coat, which one can argue inspire the modern day sort of oversized puffy jacket. So I consider Martin Margiela an icon, not necessarily because of his designs or his aesthetics or the aesthetics of his clothes necessarily, but rather his sort of like rebellious approach to creating and designing. Margiela was definitely an innovator. His work challenged almost every convention within the fashion system. Despite the popularity of the Maison, Margiela maintained a low profile throughout his career, refusing to do face-to-face interviews or even have photographs taken of him. He was always almost, I mean, no, he was almost always out of the spotlight. And I can't help but think of it as sort of like a practice of ironic detachment in a way. Whether he did it deliberately or not, I think it makes him a lot more cool. Um, but yeah, in this slide on the left picture is the Martin Margiela team in front of the studio in Paris, dressed in white coats, with an empty seat reserved for Martin himself because, according to multiple sources, he didn't want to be in the photo. I thought that was kind of funny, but yeah, fun fact: the white coats have been a staff uniform of the house since the day it was founded in 1988, and it remained the uniform of the house till this day. Um, Today, Margiela is definitely one of the most influential designers of all time. And while I believe that art is subjective and art quality cannot be judged truly, I also do believe that a good way to analyze or assess art quality is to look at its influence. Thank you.